What is happening, my friends? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about a hypothetical matchup between Jiri Prochazka and Jon Jones. Now, would Jon ever come back? Who the heck knows? He's been making his transition to heavyweight for a bit now, packing on size. Seems like, yes, he's done with light heavyweight, but stranger things have happened. You just never know. Maybe he'll get the itch to drop back down and challenge for the light heavyweight belt again. He seemed like he was getting bored of challenges, but that's kind of funny as well because his last few fights have been competitive. I feel like these guys are getting bigger, more capable, more athletic. The skills are kind of catching up, but wins are wins. Jon Jones still dominant, of course. But yeah, let's get into this fantasy fight. Now, we all just saw Jiri Prochazka defeating Glover Teixeira at UFC 275. That was a war. It was very competitive. A lot of people counted Glover out completely, saying that he was too old, which always makes me laugh. You know, a guy could be like nearing 40 or 40 years old, a little bit over, and people think that they're elderly and incapable of competing. You know, I read word for word, Glover's too old, he's gonna get knocked out. That wasn't the case. That guy's super durable, super tough, very skilled, has a lot of heart and determination, and he hung in there with Jiri. And like, that's not a knock on Jiri's skill, because I saw comments to that effect as well, you know, basically, oh, Jiri couldn't finish a 42-year-old, it took him to the 5th round. Very clueless stuff. The fight went that long because Glover is damn good and tough. He was the champ for a reason. And in that fight, Jiri showed a lot of skill. You know, he showed grappling skill, submission defense. He was stuck in quite a few bad positions a few times. Glover had a mount on him, had his back. Now, it wasn't good that he got in these positions, but it was pretty impressive that he survived with a guy like Glover on top of you and he escaped these positions. Some of that was skill, some of that was just straight up heart and determination. But that was against Glover. You do that with a guy like Jon Jones and you're gonna be in trouble. Jon Jones doesn't make a lot of mistakes. But before we get into this matchup, let's talk about their stats. Alright, so Jiri Prochazka, 29 years old, 6'3", 80-inch reach, mixed martial arts record, 29 wins, 3 losses, 25 KOs, and 3 submissions. That KO ratio is insane. The guy's super dangerous standing. Jon Jones, 34 years old, 6'4", 84.5-inch reach, one of the longest reaches in the UFC. That's a problem for a lot of people. Mixed martial arts record, 26 wins, 1 loss, 1 no contest. 10 knockouts and 6 submission victories. Alright, so talking about this hypothetical matchup, historically Jon Jones has had issues with rangy, long guys. As a matter of fact, I think he's shown the most weakness against strikers and rangy long guys. Because think about Jon's dominance on the mat. When has he ever been in trouble on the mat? It's never really happened. One time Vitor Belfort was threatening with an armbar. Granted, he wasn't hyperextending his arm, but Jon shucked him off and won the fight. That's like the one time I could think of, but pretty much every other time as far as like grappling, if the fight hits the mat, if Jones has top position, you're in trouble. He's crazy strong. He has great control, great sense of positioning. He has nasty elbows. Remember the term hellbows, Jon Jones? Where we've seen Jones in trouble is in striking affairs against explosive big dudes. For example, the first Gustafsson fight, Gus pieced him up on the feet. Thiago Santos, not the biggest guy, but competent, dangerous striker with a lot of power. Jon was very tentative on the feet in that fight. Dominic Reyes. A lot of people think he won that fight against Jones. He gave Jon Jones fits. Look at Reyes' build. Huge guy, explosive, fast, and he has power. So look at Jiri Prochazka, tall guy, rangy, reach, fast, power. Not to mention, Jiri Prochazka fights kind of quirky and weird on the feet. I think it's hard for guys to get a read on him. He never stops moving, never in a fixed position, doesn't really stand and bang. He's always trying to find angles. He has an array of attacks on the feet. He'll throw punches, kicks at you, flying knees, spinning back fists. John, when he first started his career, he was a lot more creative. As his career went along, his striking became a little bit more traditional, at least in my opinion. Kind of just stuck with the jab, crosses, framing, does that defensively, sticking his arms out, keeping guys at bay. Also, punches get deflected off his arms when he has his arms out like that. Keeps guys at distance so they can't really get a hold of him and shoot in. 84.5-inch reach is difficult to deal with. John has great teep kicks. That's an offensive move and defensive move. Not afraid to throw those oblique kicks. But when comparing the two, present day for the most part, Jiri's definitely a lot more creative, and he reminds me of like younger Jon Jones. Now, who has the edge in the grappling department? 100% Jon Jones. 100% Jon Jones. I cannot fathom Jiri Prochazka choking out Jon Jones. Whether it be a guillotine, rear naked choke. I can't picture him getting an armbar on him. Any submission really. Unless if Jon Jones is rocked. If Jon's dazed, if he's rocked, if he's gassed out, which I don't really see happening either. Maybe an opening will present itself for Jiri, but if Jiri wins this fight, it's not going to be via submission. I would think it'll be by knockout. Because once again, Jon has historically had issues with strikers for the most part. And Jiri is kind of like what Jon has issues with, tall, rangy guys. So how do I see this fight possibly playing out? Well, I think Jon's going to have to mix it up. Definitely going to have to engage in grappling. We saw Jiri exert himself quite a bit in the Glover fight. I'm not going to say he was gassing, but he exerted a lot of energy and it slowed him down a little bit. That's something that Jon's going to have to utilize to slow Jiri down, because the dude is super quick. He's very explosive. He's very nimble. And he has to bridge the gap in the striking department. Not that Jiri is so much more skilled than Jon, but I do think he's a better striker. Now, Jones has better defense, but better striker in terms of effectiveness and getting results, knockouts. Jiri is without a doubt more dangerous. So the longer this fight stays on the feet, it's going to be probably problematic for Jon. Unless there's a threat of the takedown, unless Jon makes Jiri grapple. Because when you're dealing with a better striker, a way to bridge that gap is to make them grapple or have the threat of the takedown there. We've seen that happen time and time again. I keep using Khabib as an example. No hate on Khabib, but Khabib is not really the greatest striker out there. Or he never was. He's retired. And the way he was effective in that cage was the threat of the takedown. Guys were just terrified of being taken down and controlled and beat on. So it made them tentative on the feet. It made them not use their full arsenal. And it made Khabib, with his skills, more effective standing. Simple stuff too. Jabs, crosses. That's it. So the grappling and threat of the takedown works wonders. Jon's going to have to put the fear of God of grappling in Jiri. Take him down a couple of times. Show that he can take him down. Show that he can control him in the grappling department. Which is going to kind of make Jiri rethink things a little bit standing and change his game standing. But the thing is, Jon can't force things, because when you're rushing on a guy, going for a desperation takedown, shooting it from outside, reaching out to clinch, like I said, kind of desperately, that's when you get caught. So it's got to be organic. Jon has to hold his own in the striking department, and when he sees these openings, engage in clinch situations or go for takedowns. Now, as far as Jiri getting hit a lot, yeah, he does. He has a lot of head movement, but his defense is a little bit lacking. That's just a part of his game. It's like what makes him effective offensively is also part of his weakness defensively standing. But that's just how he fights. It's a gamble with Jiri, I think, and he prefers to fight that way, taking chances. But even though he leaves openings standing, I'm not sure if John can fully capitalize on them because we all saw that Jiri has a great chin. John's not a knockout artist. He is not a dude who starches people with one shot or really hurts them bad with strikes. That's just not a style. That's not his style. Those are not his attributes. He's more of like a pick you apart volume striker standing, very methodical. And it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts with Jones. Jiri would be able to take pretty much whatever John throws at him. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, this stays a stand-up battle. Gonna have to probably favor Jiri. I think John's gonna be more in danger standing than the other way around. But good thing this is a mixed martial arts fight. There's grappling involved, wrestling, and that's going to benefit John, who's one of the most well-rounded fighters of all time. Jones could do it all. I could definitely see him submitting Jiri Prochazka, given the right situation, if Yuri's gassing, if John does stun him, of course. So submission grappling wise, I see John tapping out Jiri more so than Jiri tapping out John. Cardio and conditioning, I don't really think Jiri has an issue with cardio and conditioning. I actually think he has great cardio and conditioning, but in my opinion, more so in the striking. I think he can strike all day. Grappling's a different story. I don't think he necessarily gasses with grappling, but I think he has better conditioning for striking. Overall, I think Jones is more conditioned. So quickly, path to victory. Yuri's gonna have to stay mobile, just do what he does. Keep the fight standing. If John tries to engage in clinching with him, break off circle, don't get his back against the cage. Don't accept being taken down. If John happens to take him down, pop back up. You can't get your hips pinned against the mat because you'll be screwed. I can see Jones sitting in Yuri's guard, just dropping elbows on his face all night. Yuri's not going to offer too much of a threat off his back. I think if Prochazka is able to keep this fight standing, he would have a great shot at beating Jon Jones. Now, John's path to victory, be a mixed martial artist. You're the more well-rounded fighter. Glover had a great game plan. Glover mixed in striking with wrestling and grappling. That's what makes Glover so dangerous, because he can do both very well. And he's dangerous in both realms. Now, John doesn't really have the knockout power of Glover, but he's very effective on the feet. He's skilled, and he definitely could do damage. So he can hang with Jiri, but I wouldn't just sit there and strike with him the whole fight. Yuri's wild craziness, there's openings for takedowns there. Has a very wide stance at times. That lead leg is out there. John could reach down with those long arms, ankle pick him, snatch up a leg for a single. Yuri's hands are low. That's good for takedown defense. You get those underhooks right away if somebody shoots in on you. And he seems like a strong guy. So I don't think flat out takedowns would be easy for John. He would have to time them and set them up correctly. Now, it'll be good for John to once again cut Jiri off, stop his movement, slow him down. Getting his back against the cage would be huge. Because from there, John could work his clinch game. Maybe throw some elbows. Duck down if he chooses to, get a hold of Yuri's hips, work a takedown, go for his legs. Having Jiri against the cage is very beneficial to John. How's he going to do that to Jiri? It's going to be tough. Jiri is super mobile and quick, and he's very agile. I think John's best bet at winning this fight would be to get the fight to the mat. As crazy as this sounds, I think John will have more finishing ability than Glover on the mat with Jiri. I don't see John making those same mistakes. I think he would ground Jiri. Yuri's not going to get back up if John gets a hold of him, gets him down to the mat, and John would just elbow his face to the mat. Those times that Jiri turned over on Glover, I can see John sinking in a rear naked choke. So ultimately, guys, who do I have winning this matchup? I'm going to have to give it to Jon Jones. I think Jiri is a very dangerous, amazing fighter. He's a little bit younger than John. I feel like he's quicker, he's more explosive. He's definitely more dangerous in the stand-up department. But John has such great fight IQ, always comes in super conditioned. He has a great chin. I think he would be able to weather the storm standing with Jiri. And eventually, I do see him getting the fight to the mat. And if he gets a hold of Jiri, gets him to the floor, I think he would be more dominant on the mat than Jiri would be dominant standing against him. So John via well-roundedness, fight IQ, and sticking to a game plan. I got Jon Jones 60-40. And 60-40 is a credit to Jiri Prochazka. That's giving him a big chance to win. Anyway, guys, you let me know in the comment section who takes this fight and why. Fantasy matchup. Jiri Prochazka versus John Jones. I think it'll be an awesome freaking fight. New school versus the old school. Old school. Even though John's only 34, that's hilarious. I feel like he's been fighting forever. Yeah, guys, drop those thoughts and picks. If this is your first time at the channel and you enjoy the content, consider hitting that subscribe button. Like and share as it helps the channel grow. Great way to show support. Appreciate it, guys. And until the next segment, you all take care.